Imagine inventing beauty hacks so effective, the billion-dollar industry now sells them back to you at triple the price. In the 1980s, Black women mastered kitchen chemistry to create flawless curls, pressed hair with stove-heated combs, and used eyebrow pencils as lip liner because brands offered nothing for them. These forgotten secrets were not just survival, they sparked trends that rewrote beauty history. But what unseen costs and genius rituals did the world ignore? Let us uncover the truth behind these game-changing moves. A salon owner in Detroit remembers the sound of bottles rattling before sunrise, curl activator, moisturizer, plastic gloves. The Jerry curl wasn't just a hairstyle, it was a daily commitment that shaped every part of life. Each morning began with a careful misting of activator, the glycerin-rich spray coating every strand to keep curls soft and shiny. If you skipped even one application, hair turned brittle, risking breakage and embarrassment. But the price of those perfect curls went far beyond the salon chair. Activator bottles, sometimes as much as $5 each in the early 1980s, lined bathroom shelves. Some families budgeted for them like groceries. The mess was legendary. Pillowcases took on permanent dark stains, no matter how many times they were washed. Mothers wrapped heads in scarves or covered pillows in plastic, but the oil always found its way through. Car headrests turned slick and shiny, and some people kept towels in the back seat just for curl wearers. At home, couch backs and shirt collars bore the marks of daily upkeep. Guests learned quickly, never lean back without checking for a damp spot. Salon owners became experts at managing the chaos. One recalls keeping a box of cheap towels on hand, swapping them out between clients because activators seeped into everything. The smell, a mix of sweet glycerin and synthetic fragrance, lingered in the air, a badge of fresh curls and careful maintenance. For many, the ritual was a source of pride. It took planning, resourcefulness, and a willingness to adapt. Black women invented hacks for every inconvenience, from lining hats with plastic to carrying mini spray bottles in purses. The Jerry curl's high gloss look became a cultural signature, but it came at the cost of constant attention, stained fabrics, and a household that revolved around the demands of those perfectly defined curls. On Saturday mornings, the kitchen transformed into a salon. The hot comb, solid metal, often brass or cast iron, sat directly on the stove, heating slowly over a blue flame. Pressing hair wasn't just about straightening, it was a careful craft passed down from grandmothers to mothers, mothers to daughters. Every step mattered. Before the comb touched a single strand, there was a ritual, a drop of water flicked onto the comb to test its sizzle, or a quick swipe on a folded towel. Too cool and the hair would frizz, refusing to yield. Too hot and the comb would scorch, leaving behind the unmistakable mark of a burned ear or a tender nape, badges worn by girls learning to sit still. Pressing oil, thick and fragrant, was smoothed along each section before the comb made its pass. This wasn't just for shine. The oil created a protective barrier, guarding hair from the dry heat and helping each coil glide into a glossy, straight ribbon. The scent of hot metal mingled with the sweet, earthy aroma of oil, filling the house and signaling that transformation was underway. A salon owner remembers the tension of those moments, the trust required, the steady hands needed. Each pass of the comb demanded precision, from roots to ends, chasing away every kink. One wrong move meant a flash of pain, a hiss, and the promise of a cooling salve afterward. Ears, temples, and the back of the neck were the most vulnerable, always at risk. Children learned to hold their breath, to keep their heads perfectly still, knowing that discipline meant beauty and safety. This was more than grooming, it was a lesson in patience, skill, and care. The stove-heated press bridged generations, its methodical rhythm echoing the heartbeat of Black family life. In homes where electric straighteners were rare, mastery of the stove-heated press was both necessity and pride, a living art form shaped by memory, ingenuity, and love. A jar of Blue Magic, Dax, or Ultra Sheen sat on countless bathroom counters, their bright blue, green, or gold contents promising shine and manageability. The scent, a mix of mineral oil, lanolin, and sweetness, lingered long after the lid snapped shut. On Saturday nights, a grandmother's hands parted hair into neat sections, scooping out pomade and massaging it into the scalp. Each stroke eased tangles, locked in moisture, and left hair gleaming. These rituals were more than grooming, they were acts of protection. Petroleum grease shielded hair from dryness, wind, and the harsh pull of a comb, turning a simple product into a tool of care and resourcefulness. But the next step brought a shift, from comfort to chemistry. The kitchen filled with the sharp, unmistakable odor of relaxer cream. Box kits like Dark and Lovely or TCB sat ready on the counter, promising transformation but demanding precision. Timing was everything. Before the process began, Vaseline or Dax was carefully applied along the hairline, behind the ears, and at the nape, forming a barrier against the burning power of sodium hydroxide, or guanidine. Gloves on, timer set, the relaxer was spread from root to tip, always starting where hair resisted most. The air grew thick with chemical tang, signaling both possibility and risk. Tingling was expected, burning meant the countdown had ended, and rinsing had to be immediate. The line between sleek hair and a scabbed scalp could be measured in seconds. When the last section was rinsed and neutralized, hair that once coiled tightly now hung loose and straight, shining from a final coat of grease. For a young girl, this moment was more than a new look. It was a rite of passage, guided by a grandmother's steady hands. Each jar, each box, each scent carried stories of ingenuity and care, woven into everyday life. In 1973, a new kind of beauty counter appeared in department stores like Neiman Marcus and Bloomingdale's. At the center stood Eunice Johnson, already a legend for her ebony fashion fair tours, now determined to solve a problem that had gone ignored for decades. She watched Black models backstage forced to blend 2 or 3 foundations just to get close to their skin tone. The industry's answer for deeper skin was always a chalky afterthought, never quite right, never truly seen. Johnson refused to accept that. She built fashion fair cosmetics from the ground up, creating shades with names like Brown Blaze and Chocolate Raspberry, colors that spoke directly to the richness of Black skin, not around it. Approaching a fashion fair counter in the 1980s was an event. The consultants wore tailored suits and perfect lipstick, greeting each customer like a VIP. For many Black women, this was the first time someone behind the counter could actually match their complexion, offer advice that made sense, and call out shade names that felt like home. The emotional impact was immediate. One woman recalls the pride she felt when the consultant found her exact shade in seconds. No mixing, no apologies, just pure recognition. Fashion fair counters became gathering spots. Women traded tips, swapped stories about the best blush for Sunday service, and tested new lipsticks with names that felt luxurious. The experience was more than a purchase. It was validation, proof that beauty didn't have to mean compromise. For the first time, Black women were treated as the standard, not the exception. Eunice Johnson's vision turned department store aisles into spaces of belonging, setting a new precedent for what inclusive beauty could look and feel like. A sharpened brown eyebrow pencil became the magic wand of the 1980s beauty drawer. When lip liners did not come in shades deep enough for dark skin, Black women reached for what actually worked: Maybelline or CoverGirl brow pencils, sometimes swiped from a mother's purse or bought for $1 at the corner store. The trick was all about contrast and control. Outline lips with a steady hand, feather the color inward, then slick on clear gloss or a dab of Vaseline for shine. The result? A defined, dimensional mouth that stood out in school photos, church directories, and club Polaroids. Never washed out or ashy, always intentional. Beauty historians point out that this hack was not taught in cosmetology school or pushed by department store artists. It spread through family kitchens, salon chairs, and whispered tips at beauty supply counters. Aunties schooled nieces, friends copied friends, and stylists in Detroit or Atlanta would demonstrate the look right in the mirror, showing how a pencil meant for brows could create the perfect nude lip for deep skin. No one waited for the industry's permission. The solution was already in their hands. Pairing that bold lip frame with the decade's favorite eyeshadows, fuchsia, teal, electric blue, was the finishing touch. Neon palettes from the drugstore delivered color that popped on brown skin, especially when set against the richness of a dark-lined lip. The overall effect was pure confidence, a face that refused to blend in, a look that made space for itself in every room. Years before major brands sold chocolate or nude for deep skin lip kits, Black women had already perfected the formula with a pencil, a gloss, and a whole lot of ingenuity. When Florence Griffith Joyner sprinted into history at the 1988 Olympics, her 6-inch multicolored acrylic nails were as unforgettable as her records. Suddenly, Black salons across the country saw a surge in requests for nails that did not just match outfits, they announced personality. Nail techs in cities like Chicago and Los Angeles became artists, airbrushing geometric patterns, layering on rhinestones, and building up length until fingertips became tiny canvases. Some designs took hours, with hand-painted stripes, gold charms, and miniature decals pressed into the acrylic. For many, these bold nails were more than a trend, they were a declaration. Long before high fashion caught on, Black women were setting the standard for nail art in neighborhood shops and basement salons. But the artistry did not stop at fingertips. The same attention to detail shaped full body care routines. Every morning, grandmothers reached for cocoa butter and Vaseline, working it into elbows, knees, and ankles with practiced hands. The rich, chocolatey scent of cocoa butter signaled care and discipline. Going outside ashy was simply not an option. Vaseline did double duty, locking in moisture and adding a subtle shine to cheekbones or lips before anyone called it highlighting. These rituals started young, a grandmother gently reminding, "Don't forget your knees." Finishing touches mattered. Before leaving the house, a quick mist of oil sheen spray delivered that unmistakable hiss, leaving hair gleaming under the sun or salon lights. For those who wanted gravity-defying styles, a blast of Aquanet would freeze curls or waves in place, ready to survive a full day of work, church, and everything in between. Sleeping in foam rollers was uncomfortable, but the morning reveal was worth it. Perfect spirals, bouncy curls, and volume that seemed to ignore gravity. Each step, from acrylic artistry to anti-ash discipline, was a testament to creativity and pride. Black salons were not just places to get pretty, they were innovation hubs where beauty was reimagined daily, one airbrushed nail and cocoa buttered elbow at a time. By the late 1980s, the same beauty hacks that started in kitchens and salons were fueling billion-dollar profits for major corporations. Black women labeled as super consumers were outspending every other group on hair and beauty, buying everything from curl kits to foundation, even as mainstream brands dismissed their needs for decades. But once the proof was undeniable, once Fashion Fair, Proline, and Shea Moisture moved millions of units and built cult followings, corporate giants moved in. Take L'Oreal's acquisition of Soft Sheen Carson, the parent company of Proline. In 2000, L'Oreal paid an estimated $150 million to $200 million to bring Black-founded lines under its umbrella. That single deal helped L'Oreal's ethnic hair care sales jump from about $200 million in 2001 to over $500 million by 2010. Unilever followed, buying Shea Moisture for a reported $500 million in 2017. Within 3 years, Unilever's multicultural beauty sales shot up to over $1 billion. Even smaller brands like Carol's Daughter and Mel Organics were snapped up for hundreds of millions, their founders often stepping aside as conglomerates scaled their formulas to tens of thousands of stores. After Fenty Beauty launched in 2017 with 50 foundation shades, the entire industry scrambled to catch up. Brands that once offered 10 or 15 shades suddenly rolled out 40, 50, or more. Foundations with 20 or more shades made up just 12% of the market in 2017. By 2022, that number climbed to 68%. Inclusive beauty became the new gold rush, and Black spending powered the surge. Yet even as these innovations drove global revenue, $570 billion in beauty sales, by 2023, original creators saw their techniques rebranded and sold back at premium prices, often without credit or ownership. Beauty historians call this the economic paradox. The same women whose ingenuity built the market often watched their ideas and dollars flow upward, while recognition and profits stayed concentrated at the top. The story of Black beauty in the 1980s is not just about invention. It is about how those inventions, born from exclusion, became the engine of an industry that once refused to see them. Scalp burns and hair breakage were so common in the 1980s that nearly every Black woman has a story. Dermatologists recall treating girls as young as 8 for chemical burns along the hairline, ears, and nape, tender, raw patches that sometimes took weeks to heal. The sharp sting of sodium hydroxide, the active ingredient in most lye relaxers, left a lasting impression on both skin and memory. Even the so-called no-lye kits, marketed as safer, could cause irritation and thinning if left on too long or not rinsed thoroughly. By the end of the decade, consumer complaints had piled up. Some families quietly paid for medical care after a routine kitchen relaxer went wrong. Others filed claims against manufacturers, citing hair loss, scarring, and permanent bald spots. Recent studies have revealed a deeper cost. The National Institutes of Health tracked tens of thousands of women over 2 decades, finding that those who use chemical relaxers at least 4 times a year for 10 years or more face more than double the risk of uterine cancer compared to non-users. The Black Women's Health Study linked frequent relaxer use 7 or more times a year to a 33% higher risk of developing breast cancer, especially for estrogen receptor positive cases. These findings have shaken communities that once saw relaxer rituals as a rite of passage. Legal action soon followed. In October 2022, more than 10,000 lawsuits were filed in federal court against companies like L'Oreal and Procter & Gamble, accusing them of knowingly selling products that expose Black women to cancer-causing chemicals. The cases have been consolidated into a massive class action suit in Chicago, with the first trial set for next year. Plaintiffs' attorneys cite internal documents and the NIH studies as evidence that manufacturers prioritize profit over safety. A leading dermatologist explains, "We have long known about scalp burns and hair loss from relaxers, but the cancer risk brings a new urgency. These are products that were used on children, sometimes every 6 weeks, for years. The question now hangs in the air: what is the true cost of beauty when innovation is born out of necessity, but safety is left behind?" Today, the billion-dollar beauty industry profits from trends Black women pioneered out of necessity, often without credit or care for their health. As studies now link chemical relaxers to increased cancer risk, the legacy of innovation is shadowed by hidden costs. The real beauty revolution is ongoing, demanding recognition, safer products, and respect for the genius that never needed permission. What beauty legacy are you carrying forward? Let's talk in the comments.